you know, space. It's like this inexhaustible well of mysteries. Always something else to discover out there. And the best part is sometimes it feels like the universe is dangling these secrets right in front of us. Like, can you solve this one? And that's what we're looking at today, that whole Planet X thing.
Yeah, and what makes this mystery really grab you is how long it's been around. Centuries, really.
Yeah.
It's a blend of solid science and this very human need to figure out how our little corner of the universe ticks.
Exactly. It's not some outlandish tale, right? We're talking about astronomers way back in the 1800s trying to make sense of what they were seeing, and it all kind of starts with Neptune, right? What was it about Neptune that gets everyone on this Planet X quest?
Well, after Neptune was discovered, astronomers, they picked up on these, well, tiny wobbles in Uranus's orbit, like a little shimmy. And these wobbles, they hinted that there might be another celestial body, possibly a hidden planet, messing with things gravitationally.
So it's like Uranus was trying to signal us, like, hey, there's something out there, I can feel it.
In a way, yeah.
And that's where Percival Lowell jumps into the story, right? I mean, this guy was obsessed with finding Planet X.
Totally. Lowell, he was convinced that those little irregularities in Uranus's orbit, those were like a giant neon sign pointing to this unseen world. And get this, he devoted years of his life to the hunt, even went and built an entire observatory just to map the stars, all to try and pinpoint Planet X's location.
Wow. Talk about dedication. But didn't he come up empty-handed?
Sadly, yes. Lowell passed away in 1916, never found his elusive planet, but his work, his passion, it didn't die with him. 14 years later, at the very observatory Lowell built, Clyde Tombaugh, he discovers Pluto.
No way. Talk about a plot twist. So for a little while there, everyone's thinking, this is it. We found Lowell's Planet X.
Oh, absolutely. For a hot minute, the astronomy world was buzzing.
But then?
Well, Pluto, it turned out to be a lot smaller than anyone initially thought, way smaller.
Ah, so close.
It was a huge discovery, don't get me wrong, but Pluto, it just didn't have the mass, the gravitational muscle to explain those weird movements they were seeing in the outer solar system. So the mystery of Planet X, the real deal, the one with enough gravity to tug on other planets, it just wouldn't die.
So Planet X, still out there, lurking in the shadows. But if Pluto wasn't the answer, what changed? What brought this whole mystery planet thing back into the spotlight?
Well, you could say the space race had a hand in it. Back in the 70s and 80s, right? We're sending probes out farther than ever before, Pioneer, Voyager, and they start sending back some head-scratching data.
You mean like their flight paths were a little off, not quite going where they were supposed to?
Exactly. These probes, especially Pioneer 10 and 11, they showed these, well, tiny, but definitely there, anomalies in their trajectories, almost like something was, I don't know, giving them a little gravitational nudge off course.
A nudge. From what, though, if there's nothing there?
Right, that's the thing. Imagine for a second a spacecraft on this cosmic highway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even a small tug, gravitationally speaking, from a distant object over these massive distances and timescales, it can cause a spacecraft to drift off course. Just a little, think of it like a car on the highway, right? A little nudge can send you drifting into the next lane, especially if you're traveling a long, long way.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Over time, a little nudge becomes a bigger deal. But weren't there, like, other theories going around back then? Rogue planets and whatnot? Weren't some folks connecting these weird probe movements to things like the Nemesis hypothesis or that Nibiru planet?
Yeah, those were definitely getting some attention at the time.
Yeah.
But it's really important, I think, to separate, speculation from actual well-grounded scientific theory.
Right, of course.
The Nemesis hypothesis, that was talking about a dim companion star to our sun, and Nibiru, well, that was supposed to be a rogue planet zipping through our solar system. And while those ideas, yeah, they're kind of cool to think about, they just haven't held up to scientific scrutiny. No real solid evidence to back them up.
Okay, so we stick with what we can actually, support with evidence. And that brings us to, were there any other big discoveries that kind of pointed towards Planet Nine?
There was one, pretty major one actually, happened around the same time as the Pioneer and Voyager anomalies. Astronomers discovered the Kuiper Belt.
The Kuiper Belt. Okay, refresh my memory.
Right, so the Kuiper Belt is this region way out beyond Neptune, okay,
Mm-hmm.
filled with these icy bodies, leftovers from the early days of the solar system, like a cosmic junkyard kind of.
Okay, right. Lots of icy rocks and stuff. But how does how does the Kuiper Belt connect to Planet Nine?
It's not just that it exists, it's how things are moving within the Kuiper Belt. Astronomers noticed that some of the objects out there, the big ones especially, they're clustered together in their orbits. And it's not random, or at least not likely to be random. It's like they're being shepherded.
Shepherded, like someone or something is keeping them all together.
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And one of the best explanations, at least right now, is that there's a big undetected planet out there doing the shepherding. Planet 9. See, the gravity from a planet that size, it can act like this, I don't know, like an invisible hand, right? Tugging on smaller objects over these vast distances, affecting their orbits. Makes them clump together in certain ways.
Wow. Okay, so that's what they call gravitational shepherding.
Exactly. And we see it in other parts of the solar system, too.
Yeah.
It's one of the strongest pieces of evidence we have right now, suggesting that Planet 9 might actually be out there.
So we've got spacecraft acting funny and a bunch of Kuiper belt objects that seem to be like herded together by some invisible force. It's like the pieces of a puzzle, but who put it all together?
Well, back in 2016, there was this paper, really got people talking, by two planetary scientists, Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown. They took all that weirdness in the Kuiper belt, those clustered orbits, and they decided to run some simulations.
Simulations, like
Yeah.
a computer model of the solar system.
Exactly. But instead of, plastic planets and stuff, they used complex equations to simulate all the gravitational forces at play. And here's the thing, no matter how they ran the numbers, they couldn't explain what they were seeing in the Kuiper belt unless they added in a whole other gravitational source, something big.
Hang on, are you saying they had to add Planet 9 into the mix to make the simulation work?
You got it. Their models, they pointed to the most likely explanation for those Kuiper belt objects acting so strangely was a ninth planet. A big one, way bigger than we ever imagined, hiding out there in the far reaches of the solar system.
Hold on, so this isn't just any planet. It's got to be massive to have that kind of influence, right? Just how big are we talking?
Batygin and Brown, they estimated this Planet 9, if it's real, could be something like 10 times the mass of Earth. That's not just bigger than Pluto. We're talking bigger than all the rocky planets in our solar system combined.
Okay, now that's what I call a giant. But if it's that big, why hasn't anyone, I don't know, spotted it before? Shouldn't we have seen it by now?
That's the thing about Planet 9. It's not just big, it's also really, really far away. And on top of that, its orbit is, well, let's just say it's not a nice, neat circle like we're used to. Remember when we were talking about astronomical units, those distances in space?
Yeah, 1 AU, that's the distance between us and the sun, which is already like mind-blowingly far.
Right, so imagine this. Planet 9, at its closest, could still be hundreds of AU away from the sun. That's way farther out than any of the other planets. And its orbit, instead of a nice circle, imagine it more like a really stretched out rubber band, taking it thousands of AU away at its farthest point.
So it's not just far, it's on this crazy looping journey around the sun. That's got to make it tough to find, right?
You could say that again. It's like trying to find a specific firefly in a forest on another continent, using only a flashlight. And the firefly only blinks every few thousand years.
Okay, you win. That's a tough one. So realistically, is there any hope of actually finding this thing? Or is Planet 9 going to stay a mystery forever?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And astronomers, they're not giving up. They're using the most powerful telescopes we have here on Earth, and even some up in space, to scan the skies, hoping to catch even a glimpse, a faint little flicker. That could be Planet 9.
It's like a cosmic needle in a haystack, but wow, what a discovery it would be. You know, this whole thing has really got me thinking, if we do find Planet 9, what does that say about our understanding of the solar system? It kind of makes you realize we still have so much to learn, even about our own little corner of the universe.
Exactly. And, even if we never find Planet 9, just the act of searching, of questioning what we think we know, that's what pushes science forward. It's about always being curious.
That's what I love about these deep dives. One question, and it can take you to the edge of the universe. So to everyone listening, if you've ever looked up at the night sky and felt that sense of wonder, don't ever let that go. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, because who knows what incredible mysteries are still out there waiting to be discovered. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the search for Planet 9. Maybe one day we'll be back to talk about how it went from hypothetical to hello there